first, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
All right, hello everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. As always, we appreciate you joining us. I'd like to remind everyone we are live streaming on the Fox 12 Oregon YouTube channel, Fox 12 Oregon apps, and at KPTV.com. So plenty of places to find the show, share it afterward, and of course watch all of our back content. But this is an interview with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Not the entire one, just with Al Petrelli and Kayla Reeves, but two of the main members of that. Al's been with them for their entire run. And we talked about it being 20 years of this show that they're doing, but they changed it up every time for this particular version. And they're going to be here in Portland, in Portland on November 24th. So tickets are on sale for that. There's a couple of different shows that you can take a look at. But I got to talk to them for a little while just about coming back here to the city and how important it is to the Trans-Siberian Orchestra history, to the lore, and also what to expect this year. First of all, really good to be talking to both of you again, you know, coming back here to Portland, obviously on the huge tour, but there's really some pretty monumental things with this one. You know, 20 years of this album, 20 million people and $20 million. You know, that's a lot to add into this, but looking at the 20 years, you know, Al, I want to ask you, you know, is this something that you ever thought, you know, back when you were performing this for the first time, that this is something that's going to resonate or, you know, strike a chord, so to speak, so well with people that 20 years later, this would still be on the road?
No, I never saw this one on the radar, brother. You know, we're approaching, it'll be 30 years this coming February when I first recorded the opening notes to Christmas Eve, Sarajevo, 1224. Now, I knew that Paul O'Neill was onto something. As an art form, it was breathtaking. Did I think that you and I be having this conversation decades later? The fact that we were coming back to Portland. You know, the first time we played Portland was 2001, and we set up, that was our first arena we'd ever done when it was still called the Rose Garden. And we set up, I thought it was referred to as the Theater in the Clouds. And I remember, like, it took me like 20 minutes to walk from my dressing room to the stage. I'm like, this is kind of cool, you know? And here we are, like, decades later. The Christmas trilogy has been part of people's holiday tradition for decades now. The 20th anniversary of the release of The Lost Christmas Eve, it seems like yesterday when we recorded it. And people are celebrating it decades later. Here we are, 20 years after its release. We're going to perform it live for the first time in a long time in its entirety. And everybody's excited about that because they made it, like Kayla always says, they made it part of their holiday tradition. They love the story, and most importantly, they relate to the story. And the fact that you just brought up 20 million tickets in so far, you know, that gives me a sense of pride that I have trouble explaining. You know, I remember with my Les Paul on my lap in a studio in New York City almost 3 decades ago with Paul, you know, watching this thing come to life going, you know, it's kind of awesome. I just hope the world catches on to it. Here we are.
Yeah, turns out it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, so far so good, brother.
Yeah. Well, Kayla, for you, you know, coming back and performing this and doing this every year, you know, it obviously, as you were just talking about, you know, this is part of people's holiday traditions. You know, this is something that people do as a family or their friends or whatever it is. This is something that they go see every year for a lot of people. You know, what is it like for you to go out there and perform for something like that and be part of someone's actual holiday experience year after year where they're coming to see you perform?
You know, Greg, it really is just an honor. It really is an incredible honor and responsibility. And it's a wonderful privilege as a vocalist to be able to carry out Paul's lyrics and Paul's poetry. And like Al and I always talk about, from our vantage point on the stage, we get to see the expressions on a child's face when our pyro flames go up, you know, and they just get a little, it's just like there's there's magic in the room. And that's the show that we get to see. You know, we've never seen Trans-Siberian Orchestra, so this is what we experience every time we hit that flight deck, and it's just a wonderful thing to be a part of.
Yeah, I guess looking at that from that standpoint, I mean, this is your holiday tradition as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, being on the road and touring like this, you know, is it still just as fun as it always is every year? You know, what are the challenges that you face when you're doing that, you know, when you're going out there and being on the road so much? Because you're going from city to city, place to place. Obviously, you'll be here in Portland November 24th. But I mean, all the other places that you're going to, you know, what are the challenges that you face with that?
Well, let's go back to the front of your question. I mean, we've been dreaming about doing this since we were babies. You know, Kayla probably with her hairbrush in the mirror singing along with somebody. You know, me watching the Beatles when I was a baby in 1964 going, I got to do that. You know, when you dream of something your whole life and then it becomes a reality, you know, you savor every minute of it because, like she said, it's a thrill and a privilege to do this. The challenges, that's another story, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at our itinerary this year, I think there's 110 shows in 60 cities in 40 days, something like that. Okay, and if you look at that, you're like, how is that possible? Well, because we've been doing it since 1999 when there was only 7 cities on the itinerary and we only had 1 box truck. You know, it's grown up, and I always compare it to watching my children grow up. You know, from infancy to 30 years old, you know, as an infant, it's like, oh my God, you know, you're scared, you're terrified, you fall in love. How am I going to protect this baby? You know, feed it, but nurture it like we did 30 years ago with TSO, to now where it's exceeded all of our expectations. So you can't really look at it now and go, that's impossible. It is possible because, you know, over the course of 25 years of touring, it's grown up like one of your children have grown up. And we've taken very good care of it. We never take it for granted, and we've never become complacent. We want to do something special and different every time this child shows up in your town.
Well, and to that extent too, for this year, for this experience, for people who have seen maybe people who have seen it, you know, every single year of the tour, they've seen a whole ton of them, or maybe this is their first time experiencing it. What is going to be, you know, what are you bringing for this year? What's something maybe that people can look forward to? Because obviously every year is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Well, you know, our department heads have been working on this year's show since the second week of December. And every year, you know, they just put their brains together. They're absolute geniuses, and they create the biggest show, the biggest production. So to be able to work with such incredible musicians who inspire and challenge each other in very positive ways, and then to work with the most hardworking crew
ever
on the planet, it's just so inspiring. It's just such a well-oiled machine, and I can't wait to see what they have in store this year, because we have no idea what it looks like. We know a little bit about the music that we're going to be doing, but we don't really get to see the production until we step into production rehearsals mid-October, and
then it's on.
Every time we walk into that arena, it's just like, I cannot believe they did it again.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like just from a pure performance standpoint, from a musician walking out on stage and getting to perform with all of those pyrotechnics and fire and the lights. I mean, how exhilarating is that just from a performance standpoint?
It's amazing because as a kid, you know, I go to Nassau Coliseum where I grew up in Madison Square Garden, you know, and go see Genesis or Kiss or Pink Floyd or whatever. And I remember sitting as a teenager watching this, like, oh my God, they got lasers. Oh my God, they have, you know, Kiss with the Fire. Yeah. So, you know, you grew up, that's in our blood. You know, arena rock and roll is just, you know, that was part of our upbringing. It was the most over the top thing I'd ever seen. You know, and Paul O'Neill came from New York City as well, where he would go to the Garden, he'd go to Radio City, he'd go to Lincoln Center, he'd go to the Theater District on Broadway, and he took all that education he'd acquired over the years and put it back into the show. Because he said, if we ever have the opportunity to play live, I want to make it the best visual and sonic performance ever. And I think we've accomplished that over the years, and we're going to continue to grow and do more. That's what he wanted, and that's the legacy we'll continue on with.
And that's it. And that's what people can go check out. And Kayla, I think last question here just for you, you know, for anybody out there who, I guess, speaking to those people who haven't seen Trans-Siberian Orchestra, who haven't been there, maybe they've heard of it, obviously, but haven't been to the show. What would you say to them to come and check it out? And what would you want them to experience, to walk away with? You know,
I think, you know, when you come to see our show, of course, you're going to get the best production, the best show, Paul O'Neill's amazing music, but there really is a sense of community in that venue. You know, people can place and insert their own life situations into Paul O'Neill's story, and they can walk away from that arena feeling like they're not alone. And I think that's, aside from the production and the show, that's the biggest takeaway, is the sense of community. And, you know, people have adopted this as their holiday tradition, and we hope that they just continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, keep going. Well, Alan, Kayla, thank you so much, you know, both of you, for joining me here. I really appreciate it, and everybody can look forward to it here in Portland and all around the country. However many gobs of shows you just talked about there, hundreds of shows essentially, and I don't know how you do that. That is a masterpiece of production just in its own right.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, you know, for having some time to talk to us. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing you here in Portland.
Back at you, brother. Thanks for the time today.
Thanks. Talk to you both. All right, there we go. Al and Kayla here joining us on Fox 12 Now. And again, thanks to all of you for being part of the show. The tickets for that are on sale on sale now, and the show is on November 24th. We have more here that we do with Fox 12 Now, and you can check them all out. Check out all of our segments at the Fox 12 Oregon YouTube channel, at kptv.com, under the Fox 12 Now tab, or of course on that Fox 12 Oregon app. I will talk to you soon. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.